Hi there, guys. God bless each and every one of you, you and yours. Welcome to some of our new subscribers. God bless you, TOL and Chooch, just for the very kind and gracious plug that he has given us on several occasions now. And because of that, we've been able to get some really important information out to you. So God bless you, brother, if you're listening. Thank you. Today, guys, as some of you know, we usually do lives around this particular time. We do that 6 days a week from basically, Friday through to Sunday, taking Saturday off. And so before we end up taking a day off tomorrow, which will be our Saturday, the 6th of September, also want to be covering just quite a few articles that have just literally come out over this period of time, not wanting that to sort of like, be swallowed up by the weekend or waiting until the Sunday when we return. But whilst we're talking about Sunday, guys, especially if you're over here in the United Kingdom, a very important message coming out from the UK government saying that they are literally also going to be doing an emergency broadcasting test on every single phone device. So if you're over here in the UK, literally at 3 p.m. At 7 on the 7th of September, this Sunday, they will be doing an emergency broadcasting test. Guys, as a washerman, I'm telling you right here, right now, please trust me when I say this, do not open up that particular text message. And actually our Sherry's here, and I'll speak to the moderators as well, that on Sunday we will be having our live a few hours later, so that when this actually happens at 3 o'clock, I'll have my phone here with me and we'll be able to see that for yourself, it going off and what message it says. I will literally take a screenshot of that and then that will be it. But I am suggesting that you do not open this, because I suspect that this is literally a Trojan horse so that they can download whatever technologies that they want onto your device. That's what I personally experienced a week before the online safety bill literally came out into being. I wasn't able to upload, download, share, or even, sort of like record, screen record or otherwise. And that's how devastating it was. And I had a whole week of sort of like messages that were sent to me, all of which I ignored, except for maybe one of them that had my daughter's name in that, which I opened up thinking that it was her, and it wasn't. And that was a way for them to literally download their Trojan horse software, Palantir software from Peter Thiel, and it's literally destroyed my ability to operate my phone. I phoned up my O2 provider and complained that since this has all happened, the online safety bill, they've been able to bypass whatever firewalls and safety protocols that these companies literally have. If you've been following us for a few weeks, you'd realize the difficulties that I've also experienced with my banking and them just taking money out whenever they want. Additionally, also, we've got an article here. Starmer considers digital ID cards for everyone to tackle immigration. Okay, this is literally an absolute lie. And what they're literally doing is just wanting to justify this and using them as an excuse. Okay, the British people do not want digital IDs. And we're going to cover that in a little bit of a moment. But what they're also doing is when it comes to Google, and if you've got like a Gmail account, like I've got a Gmail account, they've literally sent out over the last 24 hours saying, oh, because of like security reasons, we've cancelled your payment methodology. In order to reactivate that, please submit your digital ID, your facial scans, or some governmental sort of paperwork so that we can reinstate that there for you. This is them so desperate to be able to obtain your information and your data. And so I would really encourage you, if you are over here on the UK, when you get that text message on Sunday at 3 p.m. from the government, do not open it. Okay, that is a warning that I'm giving out to you guys right here and right now. So we're going to be looking at 3 articles, guys, because we're taking a day off. We're going to be looking at 3 particular articles. We're not going to be covering them in massive, extent, but really important that we cover this, because this is sort of like leading on to what we've, scratched the surface off over the last couple of weeks. God bless you, Sherry. God bless you, Rebecca. Thank you for being here. So first article we're going to be looking at is Starmer considers digital ID cards for everyone to tackle tackle illegal immigration. We're also then going to be looking over another article. Greece closes 766 schools as collapsing fertility and birth rates trigger demographic death spiral. We were saying this, weren't we, guys, in our videos before? You just wait until the preschools and the nurseries actually end up shutting shop because of the fertility collapse and everyone being sterilized by the COVID-19 vaccines or the mRNA that's being sprayed overhead or what's being put in the water and the food alike. Please do also go over to Dabu77, who had a really interesting sort of like poster that he put out pertaining to the fluoride, and then all of these guys being in hazmat suits, you know, as if they're like, you know, Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Do you know what I mean? As he's topping all up and all that sort of stuff, literally just adding that to the water supply. And it's like, really, if you're dressed in that sort of like attire, how can that be safe for human consumption? Questions need to be asked about that, but we're going to cover that article. And then another article coming out from Mr. Controlled Opposition himself, very dubious why he's doing this. RFK exposes the CDC plot to kill 200 million white Americans. Well, we've been talking about the depopulation agenda, have we not? We've also been covering in and around chemtrails and also the CDC logo. And if you just take a look at that, we put that in the community post there for you. If you can't see through the CDC logo, the chemtrail revelation of the method, I'm not sure how we can help you out over here. But these are the things that we are going to be looking at today. So first of all, guys, we're going to be looking at what's happening relating to the digital ID cards. The literal Starmer is force feeding the British people. But I want to speak out about this. So we've been talking around the digital public infrastructure. That digital public infrastructure is literally the digital ID, the digital passports, which will be used for your, you know, movements or the lack thereof, as well as your vaccination status as well, hopefully, and the lack thereof, as well as it being connected to a social credit score system. And that will be with your banking as well in the form of the central bank digital currencies. This is the sort of like the gateway drug to that whole proceeding, which will literally tee you up on a very slippery slope towards the mark of the beast. It's literally a train that's going to be heading towards that direction very, very, very quickly. Why on earth would you want to go anywhere near it, let alone anywhere near the actual station itself? So when we're speaking about the digital ID is the policy of low trust, fragmented society. It is not in the interests of ordinary people or in keeping with long-standing British political traditions for central government to have such an excessive level of involvement in the day-to-day businesses of citizens. This is a vast governmental overreach. These are the guys that are the real perverts, okay, and the real criminals that are in, you know, the White House and 10 Downing Street. Okay, these are the ones that want to spy on you through your devices, opening up your microphone, opening up your camera, wanting your sort of like data and your information. These are the ones that are literally keeping a track record of what it is that you're looking out online, track and tracing you everywhere with your phone device. So many of these AI apps now have, you know, in them the ability to track and survey everything that you are literally looking at. And we are handing these tech companies such access to our lives. These are the real criminals that want to sterilize you with what they pump overhead and put in the vaccine. These are the real criminals when it comes down to what's being put in the food and the water and that being weaponized against you. The real criminals that turn a blind eye to all of these particular crimes and things that we're seeing going on. Not the ordinary citizens that need to be so surveyed and so tracked. These are the individuals that have absolutely zero accountability. None whatsoever. And when democracy screams from the rafters, please give us a general election, because we don't want what you're offering us and where this country is going. We don't want that for ourselves, crying out for general election, and they won't even have the discussion about it. So much for democracy. Digital ID opens a door to other anti-freedom policies, such as Chinese-style surveillance. Well, if you're over here in the UK, you've already got that. They haven't asked you your permission to take your facial scan and everything else, where you give it up if you've got a phone. They'll have your voice, have your iris scan. Some cases they'll even have your fingerprint as well. They'll collect so much information and data from you without your permission and without your consent. So why on earth would anybody want to ever have any of this technology placed in under your skin? You're going to really allow them to have that sort of like influence and manipulation and deviance protecting to your biology? Look at how untrustworthy that technology is externally. Questions need to be asked, do they not? But we're going to be seeing that around the Chinese style surveillance systems, with everything being facial recognition. You know, we've got our Annie over here on our channel, and she will have to submit her iris scan so that she can just go into work. All of this Monza kind of like banking that's on everything around YouTube. All of them are, you know, give me your voice recognition. Give me your eyeball scan. Let me have a picture of your face. These are the guys that want to turn around and say, oh, yeah, it's all for your safety and all for your protection. We've never been more afraid, more paranoid. And really, when it comes to prosecution levels in the court of law, has any of this CCTV ever actually proved to be fruitful? Just very convenient for police officers to use and manipulate that as well. They're the real criminals. It's the police force and the security services that do not go and take soul samples by the chemtrails. They do not go buying meats and various other things that have been sabotaged and poisoned. They're not doing their efficient job when it comes to, you know, doing the same things and placing things under microscopes with water and vaccines. They were told that they will be given sweeping new powers, the police forces, but no one ever told us what those sweeping powers were going to be. Well, I'm telling you what those powers are being because I can't make a video. They have literally limited and prevented me from doing that. Really, really scary. And we're talking about a social credit score system connecting to these digital IDs. Look at how the social media already, you know, sort of like rolls out that social credit score system, the reward and then the punishment factor to that. So if you're compliant to the beast system's rules and its guidelines, and you're not a threat to the beast by exposing it, as we're told to do in Ephesians 5:11, expect vast amounts of fruit. But if you are going to expose it, as we are led to do with the Lord Jesus, then expect to be shadow banned, expect to be blacklisted, expect AI and algorithms set against you, let alone some dude behind a screen, information warrior, you know, running human interference on all of your work so it doesn't get the traction that it deserves. This is what we're literally up against when it comes to the rewarding and the punishing of. Over here in the UK as well, you've got these ULEZ zones, which is these ultra low emission zones where it rewards sort of like drivers that have a really posh and expensive car. But those that perhaps have a little older version and maybe a little bit more emissions, despite the fact that their MOT, you know, passes for them to have that sort of it, are being punished accordingly. And then you've got patriots over here, and God bless every single one of them, who literally are called Blade Runners, who have taken these things down, taking these cameras down everywhere. The perverse and seedy nature to these individuals that think it's okay for them to be sticking them down people's roads and misusing all of it. You only have to go over to Amazon Prime and see the movie War of the Worlds with Ice Cube and just see how easy it is for them to have that access to absolutely everything to your lives, with drones, with satellites, with cameras, and turning on things audibly, to be able to literally, you know, obsessively, voyeuristically, which is like, ooh, you know, look at every aspect of your life without your permission. And it's all justified in that particular movie because, you know, Ice Cube is like trying to look after his daughter and all of this sort of stuff. But what was that all about when it really came to its end, in its conclusion? It was literally all around, you know, them sort of like wanting data, them wanting information from you. And it was like the only way to have stopped that was that when they were going after the sort of like biological as well. And that was their main intent, to put all of this in under your skin so that you are some walking, talking transhumanism, now in the image of the beast and not into the image of God. The social credit score system is already here with the risks and the reward factor given to platforms. Really, we've tried to reverse the psychology, and some people have cottoned onto it, that actually it's the videos that really get suppressed, that really get silenced, that are the ones you really need to be listening out to, because they're the ones that the system doesn't want you to be knowing much about. Just go through some of our videos in just the titles of them and see how that is. We've been doing this for 8 years, and yet look at our Rumble account that has just over 1,000 subscribers. We were never able to get over a certain amount here. That's the reward and punishment. And that ought to be a challenge to those that do sit on really large and, you know, fruit bowls with huge, vast audiences, to be a really good steward of what it is that you were also really given with the audience and the reach by coming out with some of these things. So I'm grateful to Bro Chooch. That's why I'm grateful to, you know, Peter and Laurie at Prophetic Watchmen 88, because they've stood up and they've been counted for and they've shown respect. They're not cowards. The rest that don't share some of these other important articles and headlines and bring them to your attention are, in my opinion, because they're being avoidant of the real truth of what's going on. And if they say that they love you, they should be telling you the truth, no matter how unpopular in the world it may seem. But we're also seeing the central bank digital currency. Just to take a look at what they've been able to do. And if you've not been aware of that, guys, I had Microsoft, because obviously it monopolizes everything. And then I'm like, hang on a sec, why is that money still coming out of my account? I don't want that coming out of my account. And so very deviantly, it's not on a direct debit or a standing order where you have the power to be able to cancel it at any time, which you have a right to cancel. Oh, no. It took that from your bank card. And it actually took that from that detail. And there's only 2 ways for you to actually stop them taking money out of your account. And that is by phoning your bank and raising a dispute. And that is the only way that happens. Or you can just literally cancel your entire card. Well, I didn't want to cancel my entire card, because that would be like giving them that authority and that power. And you know what's really hilarious? We're talking about the beast system here. I had to. By the time they were taking out this money, after I raised all these complaints, I was saying, look, you ain't able to keep my money safe from Bill Gates. And it was Bill Gates's way of turning around to me and say, Dan, I can control all of your money. I can take what I want out of it. All right. And I can make you do what I want. And I didn't want to get a new card, because I was like digging in my heels and saying, absolutely no, it's not okay. The bank gave me a gratis of like about £100. Oh, we're really sorry, Mr. Trendell. It's like, yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. And then I had to get a new card. And you know what my flipping my pin, my new pin was? I'll say it, man, because it's changed, right? But the pin was, no joke, 6662. I'm not joking. I just thought that was absolutely flipping hilarious, because I didn't want to get something else that could be like a new card that could be even more programmable. And then now I'm being charged just for the privilege of using my account, which is a business account. It's like, at what point are we having this? You not see where CBDCs are literally going for people as well, where they're going to be able to say, I'm sorry, you on YouTube, or you like this post, or you wrote a comment on a particular platform and you stood against this or whatever. So we're going to be taking that away from you, because it's not acceptable to be criticizing this, that, and the other. And there'll be a rewarding factor as well to those that go grassing up their neighbors. You know, causes all both great and small. I'm sure that there'll be incentives that this evil demonic beast system will roll out, and it's already doing it now on a social media platform. At what point does these social media platforms supersede the laws of the land? That was what I was like trying to get into my head during the COVID years. How is that possible that they can do that? Because they want you to be literally on their platforms. Digital ID is presented as a solution to issues like illegal immigration. Give over. But if the problem were tackled at source, rather than treating the symptoms, such an ID would be unnecessary. And it's like, this is what happens. You come over here to the UK as an illegal immigrant, you're going to be put up in a nice 4-star hotel. You're going to be given free dentist, free doctors. Do you know what I mean? Free healthcare. You're going to get a mobile phone given to you. You're going to get PlayStations, and you're going to get all of the accesses to all the services. You're going to get your pocket money and everything. Who wouldn't want to come over here to the UK when actual Brits are really struggling to make ends meet, really financially struggling? But to these individuals, it's given up like candy, isn't it? Where it's just like, no, why aren't you putting on some tag to these individuals? You don't have to treat them like a criminal, but you can give them a wristband or something like that that identifies them as a put a step on the shores. You don't have to be giving this to every single civilian in the country, treating them like they're criminals. And you just wait until you're going to have this sort of like checkpoint Charlie overkill, where they'll be putting this into roads and places like that. Where's your ID? And this stop and search power that's going to be given to the police on a much greater level. Unbelievable. Laws must be passed to prevent the introduction of digital ID. Once it is imposed, guys, there is no going back. So you're going to need this digital ID for your healthcare, for your financial services, for your food and sustainability. You're going to need this for your travel and mobility, humanitarian, e-commerce, social platforms, e-government and telecommunications. You're going to need that. So you just wait until Google, or you start waiting until YouTube and these other providers start saying, right, in order to access, forget the one-way, two-way, three-way, four-way verifications, we're now going to need you to surrender your passport, your driving license, so we know who it is that you really are. So that's really where this tyranny is going, under the pretense of, war criminal Blair using this as a form. We've got that already over here in the UK. It's currently it's not compulsory just yet. It's voluntary. It's called BritCard. I'll put the video in a community post for you afterwards. But this is what it's literally all about, in an attempt to crack down on all the illegal immigrants arriving in England in small boats. The British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is seriously considering introducing digital IDs. He's forcing the issue. And what have we been saying around Bill Gates' digital IDs? That he's turning around and saying, unless you do not have one of these digital IDs, you will be excluded from society. What does that tell you when it's case excluded? You've got to have something to be included. Does that take us to Revelation 13:16, causing all to be able to buy and sell and trade and go about freely? You've got the EU and Ursula von der Leyen coming out with exactly the same thing. You're going to need Bill Gates' digital ID. Australia's already done that, and now they're working and pushing, because they're the lab rats. They're now pushing for the CBDCs. Look at how they treated all of those individuals as well when it came to demonetizing those guys and the Canadian truckers and everything else. See how terrifying this digital ID is. Whatever you do, guys, do not get a digital ID. Take the fine, take the hits. I'm guaranteeing you, you will be tying yourself to the beast system and being thrown into a very big hole you will never get out of. Do not tie your services up to that. The law will always provide a way out. So Starmer did not say whether identification cards would be made compulsory. Of course they're going to be, but confirmed that the government was considering a rollout of the technology for every citizen in the UK. I tell you what, I'll be using that for reserve toilet paper if he sends anything through my door. Apparently, apparently he decided to explore the idea after French President Emmanuel Macron, do you know what I mean, sat on a train, doing lines of Charlie will do that for you, demanded action that would make Britain less attractive to illegal migrants. Really? Do you think they're really going to care that they've got some app on their phone that says, here you go? Do you think they really care about that? That's not going to be any sort of a deterrent. This Fabian Marxist that we have in Starmer, please do see our video on what, the Fabians are all around. When you get a logo from like a secret cult and secret society, and it's got a wolf, in sheep's clothing as their logo, no joke, do you not think that you might want to sort of like mark and avoid anything that comes out of those individuals' mouths? Just saying. The Mail Online reports Downing Street confirmed ministers are examining proposals for a digital ID scheme 15 years after the idea was abandoned following an outcry about the impact on civil liberties. And we're still crying out for it, and we're still saying, no, we don't want it. We're still saying it, but do they care? Do they heck? Why? Revelation, 17:13, all of one mind to give their power to the beast, so that when that putrid little antichrist rocks up and he's given these 10 kingdoms that all of these brown nosers have sliced the world into, then he'll be like, oh, here you go. You can have every bit of information from this person. You don't like them, you can have that all for yourself. It's like, please. Under one option, anyone applying for a new job will be required to produce their digital ID to demonstrate that they have the right to live and work in the UK. They already have that as well. You give your passport just to confirm that you're able to do that. You give them your national insurance card that confirms your tax status. They've only got to put that information in and find that out about you. The whole point is that they have this information on you already. What do you think all of these really annoying censuses were for? Yeah? You telling me that they don't know about that? You're having a bubble bath if you think so. They want more of that information. They want your compliance. They want your obedience. They want you to be sheeple, just like they did through the COVID-19 vaccine and the pandemic as well, having to prove your, vaccination status to see whether or not you were able to access certain services. And you weren't if you didn't have that, if you didn't have the ability to prove that you were vaccinated. And look at how that all turned out. A test run for all of this. Then you wait and they'll start having barcodes and stuff, putting up towards your sort of noggin or your right hand to check your status, connecting you in that way. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to have any food today because you spoke out about this. China style. Similar provisions could be introduced for those moving to a new accommodation, making a benefit claim or accessing public services. So they want to get everything tied in and around this digital ID. Don't go giving it into them. So if I'm walking down the road and some, police officer says, do you know what I mean? Give me that. I'll have to oblige. I'll have to oblige because they've got these irritating sort of stop and search laws or whatever, but they'd have to seriously justify that I was walking around with some sort of crowbar and I was on to a place and I've got rights to turn around and say I don't have to tell you where I'm going, what I'm doing. If they say to me, have you got any ID, I can go tell them to go and jog on, because it's no, I'm not going to have that. You want to know who I am? Give me something, mate, and you can have my thumbprint because I used to be a bad boy, and you can see what's in there. I ain't helping you out doing your job when you use that information against us by stopping our services, messing with our banking, messing with our phone devices, messing with everything, trying to make our lives a living misery. Do you think I'm going to empower you with more of a stranglehold over me and my liberty and my freedoms of movement? I don't think so. Labour ruled out ID cards as recently as July this year, with Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds saying the idea was not our approach. Quickly how that all changes. You just wait. One sort of mushroom cloud over London. Okay, then it'll be a case of, right, that's it. We're going to heavy-handed this whole thing. Or one false flag, Black Swan event, that'll roll it all out. And then you'll be having the force, digital IDs and then forced vaccinations placed upon you. Like Japan and other countries around there have now in place the ability to force vaccinate you, because we've given these guys the authority and the power, and we haven't stood up about it, or perhaps not enough people did. But Keir Starmer has been told by Macron to address pull factors attracting migrants to Britain in return for French help in stopping the boats. You're telling me that you can't secure your own waters, you can't secure your own borders? This is like a literal free-for-all. Let's let them all in, let it all get completely out of order, then we can roll out the digital ID, and when the British people start kicking off, then we can suppress them with boots on the ground and give them US version martial law styling. Do you not see how this is? Do you know what I mean? Creating the problem, and voila, there's a solution. It's so pathetic, is our enemy. Allies of the French president have warned the UK's lax rules make it El Dorado for migrants. No, it's not. We're in an island. Telling me Germany didn't take us out. Telling me we can't stop a few dinghies. Please. Whitehall sources said former Prime Minister Tony Blair has also continued to push the idea behind the scenes. That guy, how is he not behind bars? Yeah, there's weapons of mass destruction. Seriously? And with Sir Keir coming under intense pressure to be seen to be acting on illegal immigration, he has now done a U-turn. It's not, isn't it? It's just can you not see how this is all being played out according to scripts? The Prime Minister's official spokesman told reporters that the government would always look at what works. No, it does not. Like we've been saying, when you have millions upon millions and millions of us over here signing petitions, begging for a general election to get this monster out, Okay, you only need 100,000 signatures for them to be able to have that discussion. And they won't even have the discussion in the House of Lords. They won't even have it. That's how much they don't care what we think. That's how far gone we are living on this penal colony in the UK. Then you wonder why all the millionaires are legging it, because they know better. It's like rats on a ship that's sinking. Asked if the idea could eventually mean compulsory ideas for all, there you go. He said, we are willing to look at what works when it comes to tackling illegal immigration. Again, why is the minority impacting the majority? Because of stupid, evil, demonic policies like the equal opportunity policy that teed that up for everybody. Ugh. We'll believe in equal opportunities when we see equal outcomes, huh? Questioned about the civil liberties row that ended the last bid to introduce compulsory ID, the spokesman said ministers believe the debate has changed since the last time we had this discussion. No, it's not, because you've deliberately stirred the issue with people more relaxed about the idea of having to prove their identity online. No, they don't. They don't. They want to be anonymous. They want to have some privacy. They want to have some confidentiality. They would like their names and their genders to be private, something that these individuals do not know nothing about when it comes to privacy. It's like that hilarious clip, wasn't it? When it was like when Mark Zuckerberg was being raked through the pretentious sort of like, court proceedings about his sort of like data and privacy sort of stuff. And then the person turned around to Mr. Zuckerberg and said, can you tell me where it was that you were staying today at your hotel? Okay. And he was just like, no. And she said, would you like telling me what you had to eat, where you went, what you did? And he was like, no, I won't want to give that information out. And then the person turned around to him and said, now you understand our problem. Why is it that you have this incessant need, Klingon and needy that these global elites are? Why can't this 1% that's the global elite have the depopulation, and the 99% of us sit by and go, yeah, please kill us, please enslave us, please take away our rights of freedom to talk, to speech, to movement, our religious rights, please take those away. It wasn't as if millions upon millions of people died so that we could have this, right? No, you just help yourself there, Prof. Unbelievable. The move came as Yvette Cooper claimed there was no alternative to Labour's plan for tackling the small boat crises. Really? How is it that you cannot get a few dinghies out of the situation and deal with that, with everything else that's going on? You're telling me? That's rather convenient, I would say, isn't it? Crikey. You go driving anywhere a few miles over the speed limit and now, boom, have you like that. But no. We can't secure that, as they've got drones all down by the coast as well. So these perverts in their drones are all looking down women's bikinis. I've seen it happen. You go to Bournemouth, that's what it is. Apparently it's for your safety. Apparently it's for your security. You really want that when you're lying down there? People are really conscientious of their body and conscientious of all of that, especially in public. And you're telling me that you're going to have someone beating off with those overhead? Because that's what they're literally doing, turning on your webcams. So when I'm done with all of this, that shut down, that shut down, and that shut down, and everything is switched off. I don't have my phone devices in my bed either. I don't want none of them having that. That's privacy. And we're finding it really hard to have any element of that in today's society. Privacy and civil liberties groups Big Brother Watch said that a mandatory digital ID system would usher in a dystopian nightmare where everyone in Britain would be forced through digital checkpoints to go about our everyday lives. And that's it, isn't it? The few again, because they purposefully can't deal with that. It's unbelievable. That's the digital IDs, guys. We know where this is all going. We've spoken out about that. I will be putting in some extra videos pertaining to it. I pray that you guys are watching what we're putting out. But before we go into the next one, let's see what on up in here. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Karen. Bless you. Hi, Sherry. Nothing but love, sis. Hi, Radioactive. God bless you. It is horrific. It is. It's like, why do we want to give these people this access to our lives? It's like, no, not at all. And I was saying to you that the reason why I give the old Bill or the pigs the grief that I do is because as a therapist, I still have on my phone devices and on my laptops key information about my clients that I really protect, that I take really seriously. What they have told me, I have to be a really good steward of. That means I become some big secret keeper with all of the clients that I have. And I've got their information, their data, where they live. And I put case notes and process notes around our sessions. Only a judge has the power to subpoena mine, and they'd have to really justify it. The police forces don't have that power. They never have. So when I was trained, we were told around the police being really deviant and really aggressive with therapists wanting information on clients, thinking that they may have confided something in their sessions. And it was a vast overreach. And they bullied and they harassed until they were able to get it. It's like, nah, man, y'all ever tried that with me? I would stand by the law, something that these guys did not adhere to themselves at all, because they've got no power, no authority to be able to do that with my phone device. So like we were saying, again, this Sunday at 3 p.m, there will be an emergency broadcasting message over in the UK. Every single phone device will ring. I am imploring you, do not open it, because it is a Trojan horse for Palantir and Peter Thiel to start messing with every aspect of your life. And that's exactly what happens to me. So please do not. It is horrific that we have to prove who it is that we are. 1 minute is a case of, are you over age? Then it's a case of, are you able to work here in this country? Next minute it's like, are you human? Well, what's going to happen when they get their transhumanism joygasm and everyone's mixed with a bit of biology? What's the question going to be then for us proving our identity? It is horrific. It's evil. Whatever you do, do not give them the access to you and your life with a digital ID. Go without. Go and live with family. Lose a job. Tell them to think again and come up with something else. Do not comply. You may have to make some adjustments, because the tribulation saints are going to have to make the same sort of amount of adjustments when it comes to the beast system that way, when they're not going to be able to buy food or anything of that sort. It's great that people are leaving them left behind letters, but leave them food, leave them water, leave them supplies. Anyone finds this house, they are going to literally hit Fort Knox in all that's there, with the go bag, hunting bags, etc. All of the food, all of the water, all of the gas stoves. Yeah, all of the military style ration packs that I bought for these guys, for my brothers and my sisters, because they're the ones that are going to have that, tents and everything. Yeah, Bill Grills ain't got nothing on me. I'm telling you that right now, because I've watched all of his stuff and I've got a whole lot more kit. And that's for somebody that's going to really need it. Christian family, hopefully, they will turn around, and a whole community, maybe even this village, says, no, we're not going to have your mark of the beast. We're not going to be having your digital ID, bowing down and worshipping. We're not going to be going for any of that whatsoever. We're leading by example now on what it is that we are saying and what it is that we are doing pertaining to the beast system that we saw rise. Hi there, Ash. Bless you. Good morning to you guys. Hi, Mian. Hi, bless you. Morning to you all. Mian saying, I just got home, realised I'm out of coffee. What am I going to do when I wake up? Exactly. I feel your pain. I'm a coffee man myself. I've always got some backup tea bags just in case for that eventuality. But yeah, just don't do that to yourself. Why would you do it to yourself? Do you know what I mean? Plan ahead, sis. The enemy sure looks dumb with the stuff they throw at us. Exactly. And they are going to look dumb. That's a brilliant comment, Mian. Thank you. Because they're going to be looking dumb. Because when we come back, we are going to be dismantling all of their digital public infrastructure. We're going to be taking all of their digital IDs and throwing up in the air towards kids and go, swing, bada, 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 so wing. Smashing that down, all of their digital passports, all of their CBDCs. You think Jesus is going to allow any of this through his reign and his rule? Ain't going to be happening. All their 5G, all their 6G, 7G towers, we are going to be knocking them out. All of their surveillance, all of their cameras, all of their satellites. Yeah. All of their, sort of like the work of their hands, all of that, we are going to be absolutely destroying and breaking up with such joy and pleasure. And we'll be going to their headquarters, like the Googles, like the YouTubes, like the, the Sam Altman's HQs, like the Peter Thiel's HQs, like Bill Gates's, like Mark Zuckerberg's. Yeah. We're going to be going and knocking on their door, rat-a-tat-tatting, taking down all of their technology. And they want to have clones ready for us. We're immortal and incorruptible. So don't try and think of you're going to be able to kill us and hurt us or do any harm to us. You ain't going to be able to coerce or manipulate us either. They're going to be dumb as anything. That's what we're going to be doing when we come back down. Because the earth is going to belong to the Lord and he wants to rule with a rod of iron. You think he's going to allow half of the movies that are around here so filthy with blasphemy and sex and such drastic violence in? No. They're all gone. We'll be destroying all of those. Think they're going to allow the music and the professions that are there literally now? No. Do you think he's going to allow these statues that bow down, people bow down to exist? No. There will be no coexistence with the Lord Jesus through his reign and rule. Do you think he's going to allow, Muslim mosques, temples or otherwise? No. And do you think he's going to be really sort of like going, yay to the gay flags? No. He'll be taking them down and taking the rainbow back. These idiots, the thing that they can, defy the Lord. And so far, they're all like, all pomp and proud that they're getting away with it because there's no one standing in their way. Well, the Lord Jesus will be, and he'll be sending us in his stead to go and take back these places, walking into their nice big billionaire bunkers, taking them down and out when they're shivering in the mountains with sores all over their head. Yeah, we'll be the ones that will be dragging them all out into the audience of the king. No doubt the Lord will also have judges, kings and priests or whatever, who will make those decisions. They are literally as dumb as, because we'll also be going after the third of the fallen angels that were expelled from heaven, rounding them up. And we'll be rounding up also the principalities and the powers and the rulers and the authorities and rounding them all up. All right, some of you guys might be doing different works than that, but that's what I'll be hoping I get the remit and the job description of. All I want to know is, Lord, what's the rules of engagement? That's all I care about. We'll have to go and rescue people. We'll have to go and defend people, and we'll have to go and take down their monstrosities as well, with their cloning armies and their cloning babies. We'll have to run them through. There's no way the Lord's going to let them live, really. And all their robots and all their technology. Just the other day, we saw China doing this big show and tell with all of its kit. Do you think the Lord's going to have any of that? And this is what we're going to be doing. And they're going to be, sharing the same fate of their false prophets, okay, which at the moment seems to be a little bit of like, Pope Leo, because he's jumped on the bandwagon of the climate lie. Unbelievable. Please see our video on that. And then also, jumping on the bad back of the alphabet people as well. He's already stepping right back into the shoes of Pope Francis. He could be the false prophet again. He's back on my radar, at least. And this scumbag of the Antichrist, what does our master, our Lord Jesus, do? Destroy at the brightness and the splendor of his coming. Have at it. That is going to be beautiful. And anyone that follows him as well will also be carted off, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And I can imagine that when they get to hell, which is where they're all heading, that there's going to be a lot of people in hell because of the works of their hands who are going to want a little bit of payback. That ain't going to be nice for them, is it? So yeah, Mian, they're as dumb as... Hi, Jonathan. Morning, mate. Hi, Alison. Bless you, sister. Hi, man saved by grace, Eric. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, Gates was the W, and a bunch of those treasonous traitors. More poisonous jabs are being warp speeded. That means we are going home, and they are exactly what we keep saying. Oh yeah, RFK Jr. is like coming out with it. We're going to come out with that in a minute in another article, so I'll leave it for now. But yeah, it's complete, controlled opposition. Telling me warp speed to Stargate. 500 billion on what mRNA vaccines. You're telling me mRNA vaccines that sterilize you, give you supercharged cancers, aborted baby fetuses in, connects you to the Internet of Things and the Internet of Body things. Why? Because it's got, self-assembly nanotechnology in that. Sterilizes you, gives you sudden adult deaths and supercharged cancers. And also takes years away from your life. Yeah. Sign me up. Do you know what I mean? As if. that Gatesy boy, Mr. Beast Systems representative, do you know what I mean? I hope that man lives through every bit of the tribulation. And I'm telling you why I want these guys to get through. Okay, let's just talk about what it is that these dumb individuals, like we were saying here, me and before, this is what they're going to be having, thinking they're going to have this nice, amazing, you know, sort of like time for the 7 years. Well, we told you what's going to happen when we come back, because the bride's keeping score. I will be begging God, give me a list of their names. I want to go after them. Or I'll be whispering into people's ears that might have a little bit more of a ability to negotiate. Unlike me, I see black and white. You know, there's an equal opposite to everything, and that's just how I see it. There are some that can see the grey area sides. That ain't me, fam. I'm telling you right now. So that's what will be happening during our return, like we were saying. But this is what's going to be happening for these guys that think that they're going to be, you know, enjoying the 10 kingdoms when it comes to the seals. This is what Pope Leo needs to understand. Okay, the first seal, the white horse, has a bow, given a crown, and goes out conquering. The second seal, Revelation 6:4, peace is removed, violence breaks out, and the sword. The third seal, Revelation 6:5-6, balanced scales, huge inflation of oil and wine, and spared. The fourth seal, the pale horse, Revelation 6:8, death has Hades with him, 1/4 of the earth killed with sword, famine, death, and beasts. And I hope all of these elites survive it all and the horrors of all of this. Not that they get out of it easy. No, not at all. So when we're talking about, you know, this eco warrior tree hugging thing, and we keep saying it here on our channel, the climate liars, the Beast Systems GoFundMe project with trillions at his disposal. It's God who destroys the earth, not man. Revelation 21. Heaven and earth will pass away as well, as we read in Matthew. But my words will never pass away. This is what they've got to look forward to. And no doubt we'll be running around trying to chase these 4 horses of the apocalypse. Fifth seal. The martyrs cry out, how long? Not until the number of the brethren to be killed is complete. The sixth seal, Revelation 6:12, earthquakes. Do you know what I mean? Not the little ones that we've been having now, which are, you know, real small. The sun darkens, the moon turns red, stars fall, sky receives like a scroll. The seventh seal, Revelation 8:1, heaven is silent for about half an hour. What we were saying about yesterday about the silence. Do you know what I mean? That's when you get really sketched out. Revelation 11:12, hear and the cry come up here. And that's just the seals. All right. So all of those that don't want to be, you know, with the Lord Jesus Christ and walk in relationship with him and the freedom that he provides, expect all of that then if you're going to be wanting to stay around and think you can make it yourself. Bible also says about those that are preppers. Those that want to save their lives will lose it, and those that lose their lives for my sake will save it. Let's go to the first trumpet. The grass and 1/3 of the trees are burned up, as we read in Revelation 8:7. The second trumpet, 1/3 of the sea becomes blood. 1/3 of ships and sea life destroyed. Revelation 8:8. Now you've got your climate emergency. God is so good and so funny with that. He's also got his adverse reactions coming up soon, but that's in the ball section. Wait for that. Third trumpet. 1/3 of the waters turn bitter. You want to poison waters? All right. Fluoride free. Revelation 8:10. Fourth trumpet. 1/3 of the sun. You want to block out the sun? Okay. Moon and stars do not shine. There you have it. You want to be in darkness? Have some. Revelation 8:12. The fifth trumpet. Locusts wield the beast's military power. Yeah, you're going to have like 200 million of those guys running around. That's going to be brutal. The sixth trumpet. 200 million man army. 1/3 of mankind is killed. Revelation 9:13. You want your Depop agenda? Do you? Really? Love how God rolls. The seventh trumpet. The kingdom of God is revealed. Revelation 11:15 through 19. Now we get into it to it getting really, really juicy. The 7 bowls. The first bowl. Sores afflict those who accept the mark of the beast. Revelation 16:2. There's God's adverse reactions. Have it. Second bowl. The sea turns to blood. All creatures die. It's really harsh on the animals, isn't it? Tree hug that. The third bowl. The rivers turn to blood. It's already happening as well with what, the Gates Foundation is literally doing. Poisoning the waterways. Trying to control all the water. What does God turn around and do? You ain't drinking none of that then. I'll take away your life force. You want a Depop agenda and have it all to yourself? This is what these guys are going to have through their 7 years of hell. And then real hell to look forward to. The fourth bowl. Mankind scorched by the sun. And they blaspheme God. Well, that's nothing new to them, is it? Revelation 16:8. The fifth bowl. The beast's seat of government is afflicted. Revelation 16:10. That's what you get. The sixth bowl, sorry, my bad. I jumped one. The Euphrates is dried up and world armies gather to Armageddon. Oh, sing loy, my boy. And the seventh bowl. The earth is utterly shaken. That excludes, that excludes the two witnesses and their 3.5 years of ministry. They can just unleash all of the plagues at their discretion. So that's what these guys have literally to look forwards to in that particular way, guys. Oh, happy day. This is what we've got to look forward to, guys. Can we not get excited about that? Instead of being as if we're the victims here. We ain't the victims here. We come back triumphantly with the Lord Jesus Christ. This is what we will be doing on his behalf. Isn't that exciting to take away all of these things that we're being oppressed and depressed, and suppressing? Can we not get excited about that? Might sound a bit dark and a bit sinister. I've got a dark side. I own up to it because I want to fight these individuals. I want to push back and say, no, it's not okay that you do this. It's not okay that you poison. It's not okay that you're so deceptive. That's what God says. Do not be deceived. We are entrusted in this millennium reign to be able to serve with a rod of iron. Some of y'all are going to be kings. Some of y'all are going to be priests and queens, whatever, however that works out per your gender. The honor and the responsibility of the role that you are going to be having. These guys are talking about, nicking the prophet Daniel's 10 kingdoms, the Club of Rome, because that's really what it's about. Not bricks, but the Club of Rome's agenda. It's going to be you guys that are going to have all of these spoils. It's going to be you guys that are going to be given that because of your obedience here right now, how you rolled, how you operated. This is the test subject ground now. We have from now until when we do end up leaving to store for ourselves treasures in heaven. And those treasures in heaven aren't just going to be sort of like bits and pieces in our houses in heaven. It's going to be authority and responsibilities that we're going to be bestowed upon. Don't you want to be given, something in that particular regard to serve the living God? And even if that's not so, then I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than ever dwell in the tent of the wicked. I'd rather literally do all of that. But personally, I like to be given lists and just be told what the rule of engagements are. That's it. I'm done. And I know a lot of these people. Is it because we've had this luxury of, exposing the New World Order, one world government, one world currency, and one world religion, and all of these particular people in their individual names, that we've been able to literally say, look, anything coming out from these individuals that are creating the mark of the beast and the chips and everything else now, the Elon Musk's brain chips, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, Synchron brain chips, Sam Altman brain chips, Peter Thiel brain chips, Bill Gates, we've covered that as well. Zuckerberg, no doubt, will want to brown nose his social media onto this. So the reason why these guys are all here now on the stage, ready for it. It's already sat back in some warehouse gathering dust right now. This is what we have to look forward to, guys. And I really hope it excites you, where that injustice that we've all been living in and under is no more. These guys will be having hell on earth, but when we return, will we bring in the presence of the Lord with us and having heaven on earth for however long it lasts, 1,000 years and counting a few days, as per the Lucifer being released. And that's it. And then a new heaven and a new earth to look forward to, and none of this being gone. So what a privilege for us to be exposing this right now, a privilege for us to be able to stand up against the beast system. But what a privilege and a joy. And let's give the Lord all of the glory and all of the praise for allowing us to expose such evil and such wickedness, to be able to know in advance what this is all going to mean for, the tribulation saints, to be able to speak up for them and say, hey, this is what the 7 years are going to be all about. This is what it's going to be like when we return as well. And we have, the meeting of the Lord in the air to look forward to. And we also have as well the wedding feast of the Lamb and our audience with him. Talking about our works being willed out, you know what I mean? Watch your eyebrows. All right, let's get back to this then now. Greece closes 766 schools as collapsing fertility and birth rates trigger demographic spirals. What were we saying about these vaccines being a depopulation agenda, an item, and what they're spraying overhead, what they're putting in the foods, what they're putting in the water? And this is cause equals effect now, is it not? Greece is facing a national collapse of its population. Same thing that we covered the other day with Japan. With 766 schools set to close as plunging birth rates leave classrooms eerily empty, and demographic experts warn the nation has entered a statistical death spiral. You've even got Elon Musk turning around and saying we should be knocking more kids out. They've all been sterilized, and that's why the Georgia Guidestones were taken down, because mission accomplished when you were successfully able to sterilize 5.65 billion people on this planet. More than 1 in 20 schools now fall below the minimum. No, it doesn't. Let's do that again. More than 1 in 20 schools now fall below the minimum. Ooh, that was painful. Number of pupils, turning once bustling schools into ghostly reminders of a shrinking nation afflicted by negative fertility and birth rates. And then you've got Bill Gates saying, if we can get this percentage down. And then you've got, Kamala Harris, we can get this birth rates down. Depopulation. And then you got, Klaus Schwab turning around and saying, oh, yeah, I gave the Club of Rome with their depopulation agenda, the first sort of platform in the 70s. Then you got Mr. Palantir, do you know what I mean? The all-seeing eye. Please go over to ukreloaded.com and see what they wrote about J.R. Token, all right, and transhumanism. That'll really put, hairs on your chest or take them off. I don't know. Let me know. All right, but really important stuff that we're turning around and saying. Mr. Peter Thiel, Mr. I want to sort of be the right hand man of the Antichrist. Yeah. But this is basically what it's about. Mr. Bilderberg, Peter Thiel, going there and having who has as an agenda item depopulation? Does no one else have a problem with that or been able to see something wrong with it? And then you get these idiots like Tedros Ghebreyesus from the World Health Organization pushing all this out. And then Gates pushing all. Do you know what I mean? It's like, really? If you are left behind and you're looking at us and thinking, what's this Fruit Loop Dan on about? You remember those names, because anything they serve you, do not take. We've been saying that this was about sterilizing people as well. We've got videos out there where you've got the creator of these vaccines literally turning around, and he's never been on TV since, because he let the cat out the bag by saying that we're only going to be able to sterilize about 40 or 50% of the population. And that's exactly what he came out and said. And then you've got the interview with Jon Snow. I think that was his name. Jon Snow just went, it's brilliant. Okay, that man has never been entrusted with it again, because he's come out of it. Just absolutely come out of it. So really, are we seeing a surprise here? Are we really seeing a surprise when there's such a war on the family unit? The demographic problem is terrifying as we experience it year after year, said Christos Simalos, a ministry official told the Greek National Herald, adding that while a small number of schools suspended because of lack of pupils did reopen, but for most, it was a permanent closure. Wow. Okay. And then please do see, I'll put the articles in there for you. I'm not going to be able to show it now because that'll just really depress you. All right. But there's a map here in Europe when it comes to live births per woman. Sorry. That's just absolutely terrifying. Okay. We're talking around what it is they've been putting into these vaccines, sterilizing individuals, self-assembly nanotechnology, aborted baby fetuses. And look now what we're seeing. We're seeing the fruit of their labor, isn't it? Or the fruit of their loins, their brainchild, love child. And we said about a year or two ago, did we not? You guys be my judge. You just wait until we start seeing this, where it comes out to preschools, primary schools, and nurseries that are shutting up shop because there's no more kids. And how many sort of like pregnant women are you seeing walking around as per normal? I'm going to leave that article there. I think that exposes that system quite aptly. And then here we go. We said it before, but let's say it again. You know, if you can't see chemtrail with the Center for Disease Control logo, do you know what I mean? And then you got like CERN and all these sort of places that have like 666 and the WEF 666 and Chrome. You could be here all day. All right. They're proud of all of this. But RFK exposes the CDC plot to kill 200 million white Americans. Thanks for that. Feeling it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has blown the lid off what he calls a death cult in plain sight. Yes, clearly. The CDC. He claims it was never about protecting public health at all. Nice one, Sherlock. Check out the brains on bread. But about managing populations, shaping demographics, what we were talking about, the Club of Rome's, 10 kingdoms, and deciding who lives and who dies. Come and bring it, man. I'm sat right here. From its origins steeped in eugenics to its modern campaigns of mass vaccination and depopulation, the playbook hasn't changed, only the targets. And now, according to RFK, the CDC's crosshairs are fixing squarely on white Americans. So if you're over there and you're an American, hide. And he says the smoking gun isn't speculation. No, because you can see it with your own eyes. You can taste it when you're eating the food. Do not roll up your sleeve. He found the evidence himself buried deep inside the CDC's own files. Really? Stay with us because we're about to uncover, will force you to see that public health was never their mission. It was always about culling the herd. Absolutely. It's what it's all been about. And deciding who has the right to continue living as if they get to choose. Last week, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped a political bombshell. He fired Susan Moranes, the head of the CDC, and almost instantly, the mainstream media press went into full meltdown. Their headline read like scripted outrage, a chorus of defenders, not the public, but for their real paymasters, Big Pharma. Yeah, these are the guys that get away with everything. No one wants to have a conversation about what's in these vaccines. They'll silence you and they'll take down all the channels that they've done now. Look at what they're doing to us here, suppressing and stealing our views because we want to talk about this. That's science, asking questions, critical analysis, science. It's how I was taught. It's how I was trained. And if you're an academic, you can't use their fact-checking Wikipedia nonsense as any valid sort of document when it comes to academia. Not at all, because anyone can write it. Anyone can add that. But they don't want to be having the conversations about the contents, do they, to these things, as they're not being forthcoming with what they're putting in the food and in the water supplies. Doing also without your consent. Someone asking me, well, how do I know what it is? You have to research what companies Bill Gates owns and these individual owns that are literally injecting salmon and meats and everything else with mRNA vaccines. You've got the videos there. Type in somewhere Bill Gates, mRNA and salmon, and see what he's doing to the Scottish farmers up there. Every single fish comes along on like a conveyor belt and then jab back into the water, jab back into the water. And telling me that y'all aren't eating that. Telling me that when we've had these, vials and things, the evidence, please do watch our video. I implore you. And I'll say it again, I implore you, the one that is titled, Wait, What is in the Vaccines? And see for yourself the real science, the real evidence. Also changing DNA, self-assembly nanotechnology, when that's being, heated up. It's really important that we talk about this and what that does. Sterilizes men, so they're walking around firing blanks, ruining this for women as well, so they become infertile, or having miscarriages and various other conditions as well that are getting aggravated by all of this stuff, getting ready to connect everything to the internet of body, the internet of things, so they can just have kill switches as that seems to formulate and then go after vital organs. Or so they can read our minds with the brain-computer interfaces, as that's all being put up here, all the magnet tests that we've evidenced and shown. But they don't want to be having that discussion because they're not transparent. They serve the father of lies, who is nothing but a thief, a murderer, and a liar. Apparently, back to the article. But RFK didn't blink. Do not trust RFK, because this is a dude who wants to put the, sort of like internet of bodies externally onto every American by having them having wearables. Don't fall for him. In his words, the CDC is merely broken. Yeah, but that's just it, isn't it? They destroy one thing to bring in their alternative. Oh, yeah, we're going to prosecute, says Trump, anyone who was deceptive when it came to the COVID, vaccines. Really? Mr. Father of the vaccine, Mr. Warp Speed, are you kidding me? Really? You're going to defund the World Health Organization pandemic treaty? Really? Don't believe you, bruv, when you're offering One Health as an alternative, which will be far worse. And then Stargate, the 500 billion, creating mRNA vaccines. Really, when it comes to over here in the UK with Keir Starmer, with 1 billion eye-watering amount on what mRNA vaccines, and these idiots are still in the labs now creating bird flus and everything else that can affect the neurological. Why? Because they want this for themselves. They want the spoils. And we've turned around and said, this is what's going to happen during those 7 years of tribulation for all y'all, so you'll know. And believe you me, when you end up in hell, which I am not going to be in any way breaking any sweat over, you're going to have a lot of ticked off people in hell who are going to want some payback for you sending them there, for your lies, for your deceptions. It's not going to be pretty. And this old proverb, it's better to, reign in hell than serve in heaven. Really? Just let me know how that one goes, yeah? Awful. Apparently, according to RFK, the CDC is merely broken. It's corrupted to the core, and the only remedy is to tear it down root and branch. And this guy's coming out and saying, he's doing this about the, kind of like the chemtrails or whatever. Really? Then why haven't you got the power and authority to go and scramble some F-16 fighter jets? Or in our case, come over here and, some Tornadoes or some Harriers or some Pumas or some Chinooks and go around and start circling our skies. But they're not doing that militarily. They're using civilian aircraft to pump all of this out. And if you cannot see chemtrails revelation of the method through their logo, CDC, I cannot help you out, because that's literally what it's about. The Center for Disease Control. And who do you think that disease is? And back up and to back up that claim, he didn't reach for speculation. He pointed straight to the agency's own boasts. On its official site, the CDC proudly lists abortion, fluoridation, and vaccines as its crowning achievements. Abortions, mass poisoning, federal mandates, these are fringe accusations. These are the priorities the CDC itself puts on display. And then all the rest of these guys want to commit eco-terrorism as well. You can't, falsify some science. You have to have some of it that's at least tangible. But could you imagine that? On its official site, fam, the CDC proudly lists abortion, killing them before they're firstborn, just like they've done all throughout history. Fluoridation, please see what we said earlier about that. And vaccines, really, as its crowning, interesting word, is it not? achievements, abortions. So much for the sanctity of life, yeah? Mass poisoning, vaccines, overhead spraying, prescribed drugs, governmental, in the food and the water, in the hand lotions, in the dental floss, in every single thing. Federal mandates forcing you against your consent. And when you follow this rabbit hole all the way down, you find a story where the people in charge aren't serving life at all. They're engineering death. So what's really going on here? First, well, everyone needs to know the CDC's origins are not what most people think. Long before it was called the CDC, it was the US Public Health Service. See how they change things and it actually turns out to be worse? Back to what we were saying a minute or two ago. An agency with its roots in eugenics. Voila. And what they carried out under that banner is nothing short of evil. For decades, the Public Health Service was wholly dedicated to depopulation and eugenics. And this is what the Club of Rome are all about. Their book, The Limits to Growth. They're the ones that came up with the climate lie in the 70s. They're the ones that also stole the Prophet Daniel's 10 Kingdoms. Seeing that with Trump and Greenland and Canada, and over here with the UK of rejoining Brexit and Europe. Not BRICS. I repeat, not BRICS. For decades, the Public Health Service was wholly addicted, now let's use that word, shall we? Addicted to depopulation and eugenics, orchestrating covert sterilization programs that stripped whole communities of their ability to have children. Excuse me. That's what I get on my prayer walks in the morning, as I'm seeing them fly overhead. So who were their targets? It's sort of Nazi Germany, isn't it? The undesirables is what they're literally doing. The so-called unfit African Americans, according to these guys, Native Americans, Latinos, and the poor. The status of eugenical sterilization in the United States, total number of operations by each state to January the 1st, 1935. There is a map here on this article, guys, I would really encourage you to look at. Let's just use 3 as an example, okay? So this was the amount of operations that were in Montana, 85. In North Dakota, 210. South Dakota, 251. And you can see the rest for yourself. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy facts. In 1927, the US Supreme Court delivered one of the darkest rulings in America's history, Buck v. Bell. The court upheld forced sterilization laws, giving the government the green light to permanently strip people of their ability to have children without their consent. What's changed? Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote the infamous words that still echo today. 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. And here's the chilling part. That ruling has never been overturned. Let's read this out, shall we? This is from underlined section from Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes' opinion in the case of Buck versus Bell. We have seen more than once that the public welfare may call upon the best citizens for their lives. It would be strange if it did not call upon those who already sap the strength of the state for these lesser sacrifices, useless eaters, often not felt to be such by those concerned, in order to prevent our being swamped with incompetence. It is better for all the world if, instead of waiting to execute degenerate offsprings for crime, Nazi Germany's, they did the same thing as well, sterilized them and also gave them IDs to be walking around with, just saying. Or to let them starve for their imbecility. Really? Society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind. This is Nazi Germany, it really is. The principle that sustains compulsory vaccination is broad enough to cover cutting the fallopian tubes. Jacobson versus Massachusetts, 197, US Bill 11. 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. This is the documented history, the bedrock on which the CDC was built. The only question is, has the agenda truly ended? Or has it simply evolved, shifting its crosshairs onto a new target? A new class of so-called deplorables, useless eaters. This is what Yuval Noah Harari's come out with. And this is also what Klaus Schwab has come out and said when it comes to his COVID-19 and the Great Reset book. 400 billion useless eaters need to be, not 400 million need to be disposed of. A new class of so-called deplorables. That would be you and I that aren't sort of like, compliant with the beef system and its regulations, are to be branded by the liberal elite as undesirable, a population they're quietly determined to erase. And if history teaches us anything, it's this: never underestimate how far the CDC and its predecessors are willing to go to achieve their vision. 5.65 billion, I'd say. Remember Tuskegee, 1932 to 1972. Hundreds of black men deliberately left to die so public health could study the course of untreated syphilis. No medicine, no informed consent, just human beings sacrificed in the name of data. And Tuskegee wasn't an isolated atrocity. Nearly 42% of Native American women were sterilized without ever giving informed consent. And this is what's happening with Bill Gates going over to India, Africa, Singapore, Malaysia, and everywhere else with his Garvey and his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Pharma, Pfizer, et al. By 1968 in Puerto Rico, 1/3 of all women had been sterilized in federally backed programs. And don't forget Anthony Fauci, whose record is marked by some of the darkest crimes ever committed in the name of science. Under his watch, foster children, the most defenseless in society, were forced into brutal HIV drug trials. These months, I will be asking an angel, please let me. I'm going to, I want lists of these people. I'm going to be writing my own list out somewhere, and I'm going to be saying, when these guys go and get collected, if I don't do it or someone with me don't go doing it, I want to know when they're brought into the king's audience, and I want to be sat outside, and I will want to be locking eyes with these animals before they go in. What they have done to children and their innocence. This wasn't medicine; it was state-sanctioned torture. The parallel to Nazi doctor Joseph Mengele, the angel of death, who experimented on children in Auschwitz, is impossible to ignore. History condemned Mengele as a monster, and this individual runs and walks free. How so? Telling me that you can't, with all of your security services, with all your spyware, isolate these pilots that are spraying this, that you don't know who's putting what in these factories of mass production for us. You don't know where, Albert Bourla is rocking out with Pfizer. You don't know where these individuals are when it comes to, the Faucis and the Bill Gates and the arrest warrants out for them still. You're telling me that you can't collect them and round them up? Please. Yet here in America, Fauci authored his own chapter of horror. Orphans and foster kids became disposable test subjects. It's heartbreaking. I was a lost boy. And their agony was marked as research. Their deaths reduced to data points. And Fauci wasn't an outlier. He was part of the machine, carrying forward the very ideology that has haunted the CDC since its inception. Then came 2020, ushering in the greatest crime against humanity in modern history. These guys still haven't paid for that, have they? Can't wait until the law gets a hold of them. There's moments when you think, our long-suffering Father, bless you, Father, for you and your magnificent heart. But there's this also part where it's just like, Lord, I can't wait until you let that one go for a moment. And you open a can of whop ass on these individual people for what they've done to you and yours. Can't wait. That might sound dark, but so be it. The mRNA shot was forced onto the world, even as evidence mounted that it was injuring and killing countless people, especially children, and it's still being offered now. Not only did the CDC know they were central to the cover-up, running the psychological operation that hid the truth, silenced dissent, and paved the way for a campaign that has cost millions of lives. Please do see our video. The global genocide has begun. Today is almost as if nothing has changed. According to RFK Jr., the depopulation agenda hasn't ended, it's only evolved. The poor, minorities, the vulnerable, those who were just the early test subjects. Now the crosshairs have shifted to a new population, one the liberal elite have quietly branded as expendable. And the truth of who that is not speculation and it's not theory. It's buried inside the CDC itself. Once this truth comes to light fully, heads will roll. In fact, they already are. Not fast enough. Again and again, the pattern is the same. Experiments carried out on the vulnerable, justified under the banner and lie of public health, but in reality, serving the eugenics and depopulation agenda of the global elite. Why can't they just bob off and go and colonize a planet elsewhere? No, the 1% want to kill off the 99%. Inconceivable wickedness, because that's what they're lackey, pathetic. I can't cuss out this individual enough. They're, you know what I mean? Archangel Lucifer has told them what to do. Can't wait until the Lord gets a hold of him as well. Still baffled in my own head, personally, why even give that man 1,000 years in a pit? End him right there and then. But that's the Lord, not who am I? Continuing with this. And in recent times, elites, including Bill Gates, have painted a target on the backs of one particular group in US society: white people, conservatives, and Christians. Telling me that man didn't mess with me and my thing when it comes to my banking, because I exposed this man. This is the guy who's got like 2 million people literally working in call centers around the world, targeting anybody who dares make any video about him. So is the WEF as well. The deplorables, as Hillary called them, have been disproportionately targeted by the finely calibrated killing machine of the CDC's satanic death cult, according to RFK, who has the files to prove it. Well, then do something about it, son. Such is the state of the rot in the CDC that top officials have been caught on camera openly discussing their elite liberal agenda against white people. So it's like, first we're going to sterilize this particular people group, and then we're going to go after the next people group. This is not like it was in Nazi Germany, where it was just against the Jews. And even in Nazi Germany, it wasn't just the Jews that bore the brunt of it. It was also ethnic minorities, political dissenters and activists, the undesirables, the less abled or disabled or whatever. But now this doesn't seem to matter, does it? It's everyone in every single nation, across every single country, where they've infiltrated, where they've been given permission. And Bill Gates, as his little rep, goes around and blackmails them and manipulates them, coerces them into doing this against their own people. And Keir Starmer's done that as well, giving Gates that authority and responsibility over UK skies. Such is the state of the rot in the CDC. The footage has surfaced of a top official saying that the elites will get rid of all the whites in the United States and then replace them with immigrants to reduce the number of people who refuses vaccines. That was Dr. Carol Baker described what she calls a solution to the problem of white people in America exercising medical freedom. Wow. And for those that over here in the UK that like freedom of speech, we're associated with paedophiles like, Jimmy Savile. See how long it's going to take these guys and what they did with the smearing campaign that they had, the defamation of those that actually wanted to have some bodily autonomy. What they do to us that ask questions, we're conspiracy theorists. All proves out to be factual, does it not? Notably, Baker was appointed chair of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization by Obama's Health and Human Services Secretary, Kathleen Sebelius, in 2009. So just remember these names, the CDC's Advisory Committee. Do you know what I mean? I would just be loving it. Like, Dan, go to the CDC's. I want a superhero landing on their HQ anyway, and all their factories and everything. But then just to personally just go and just like walk into one of their meetings. Do you know what I mean? Oh yes, sing a line, my boy. The Houston doctor was also honored with the Sabine Vaccine Institute 2009 Albert B. Sabin's gold medal. Really? Talk about a milestone, at a Washington, D.C. ceremony sponsored in part by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Pfizer. Well done. Thank you so much for killing so many people. We're going to have an in-house rewarding system, just like they did with Lucinda Jern or Cern, whatever her name was, over in New Zealand. She was given a promotion for sterilizing and killing loads of New Zealanders. Unbelievable. Let them have their little kumbaya. Is anyone really surprised that a Bill Gates connected CDC official is openly suggesting depopulating America of white people who don't cooperate with the elite's vaccine agenda? And what has the World Economic Forum been coming out and saying? Now the time for those that are opposing us and our agenda, that's come to an end. Now we're going to be forcing our will upon everybody. Look out there now, church. What if I told you COVID was designed to target white people and black Americans while sparing Jews and Chinese? But the rabbit hole goes much deeper. And if you thought I was exaggerating when I described the agenda as satanic, think again. The corridors of the CDC are crawling with fully paid up Satanists and adherents of the occult doctrine of Aleister Crowley. And they're not even bothering to hide their dark agenda anymore. It's the same thing that the CERN was also trying to do as well, where they're having satanic rituals outside in the middle of the night, thinking that no one's watching them. And then they thought, stuff it, may as well do one in the daytime, and they did. Unbelievable. The man in charge of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, Dr. Dimitri Daskalis, had one job: to clearly communicate the risks of any recommended or mandated vaccines. Epic fail. Give this man a P45, please. But when it came to COVID, the public didn't get an honest appraisal. Of course not, because they served the father of lies. Instead, we got a 148-page report, fully redacted. Does this look like transparency? Does this look like transparency? Do you remember that? We lost a channel for putting that video up about some guy called Christian, hilarious, nothing but love for this brother, all right? You had that in the European Parliament, just saying, how is it that you turn around and say you want to be getting people's trust, and then all of these pages were literally blacked out? I don't think there was even one word or one sentence on there. And he was saying, is this transparency? Instead, we got a 148-page report fully redacted, along with a string of other disgraceful failures as they cut off people's mics as they were trying to speak. And what was Daskalis doing while he ignored his duty? By his own record, he was busy worshipping Satan, hosting sex-fueled orgies and posing for photo shoots to flaunt his pentagram tattoos. This is the man overseeing your children's vaccine. See that for yourself. But I'm just going to say one word: GIMP. He even bragged publicly, saying that some people call risk is just an idea of a Good Friday night. Sick perverts. What kind of culture does not only tolerates an open Satanist in the halls of its most powerful institutions, but elevates him to lead them? It's not just moral decay, it's a sign of something much darker woven into the DNA of these agencies from the very beginning. Because when you trace the lineage, it always comes back to the same satanic agenda: eugenics and depopulation. You have to go by the, sort of like pharmakeia and the World Health Organization, its logos. Yeah, when it comes to all of that, the same thing that lies on the Baphomet statue. Look at what that's all about as well. Distorting the image of God with breasts and children and that perversion and the bestiality to it all. This is who they serve. They're sick in the head. In any other situation, I would probably be writing to their doctor, prescribing that they get written off and sent to a mental health institution. This is not normal, having these perversions and these lusts and these ideologies towards mankind. That is not okay, to be abusing and harming children this way, by the breaking of trust to this degree when it comes to, vaccines, when it comes to food, and just vaccinating everybody without their consent anyway. It always comes back to the satanic agenda, and they won't be shy about their logos either. As fallen angels want to go whispering to man through CERN with the 666 there. Do we even have to go near the WEF? Depopulation is it, isn't it? What kind of culture not only tolerates this, but allows them to lead? This isn't just moral corruption, it's evidence of something far deeper and darker that's woven into these agencies. Because when you trace the lineage, the mask slips. It always leads back to the same agenda: a death cult dressed up as science. Eugenics, depopulation, and now the next chapter of control, the control grid, as Whitney Webb explains. This is a future that awaits for all of us if we allow the eugenics agenda and the control grid to keep advancing. A world where your very iris is scanned just to receive your state-approved rations, where you can't step outside your assigned 15-minute city because your digital ID denies you permission to travel. A society where freedom is no longer a right, but a QR code that can be switched off at will or luciferase. And if that sounds like wild conspiracy, think again. Bill Gates is already promoting a digital tattoo that could serve as your key to communicate with the whole world. Your passport also to participate in society. And the CDC, well, they've already thrown their weight behind it. At what point do we stop and say we've had enough? How many times does the global elite need to telegraph their sinister intentions before the world stops and finally listens? Okay, this is our job here, guys, to expose this evil. It's important that we stand up and speak for those that have no voice. It was the first thing the Lord said when it came about pertaining to the end times. Do not be deceived. Hi, staff, bless you. Yeah, he will open a account for sure. Our Father is going to put them in eternal timeout. Absolutely. Cannot wait until he does that. Okay, guys. Time is getting really, really short. Where are we at now? Maybe 19 and less counting days, potentially, maybe, if the Lord Jesus chooses to, come for us on the Feast of Trumpets. So little time. This is where I am personally, guys. I have more concern and anxiety than I actually have hope. Anxiety that we don't end up going then. And the fear, I suppose, is building each day as these guys become more emboldened of what they've got planned next. We talked around something about this way comes. We've got the 3i Atlas. We've got the potential looming for another pandemic. They can weaponize anything against us, declare a pandemic at any particular point. We are literally sitting ducks down here, guys, with their depopulation agenda, with them making their crimes legal. That's really troubling for me, especially when they've got, you know, the football stadiums already set up and ready to go, the infrastructure to dispose of bodies like some Auschwitz oven. Absolutely appalling what we're seeing here. Time is really, really short. It's been our great joy and our great pleasure to be able to report to you, not only in the beast system, but also here today, you know, explaining what's going to be happening when it comes to the 7-year tribulation. What's going to be happening thereafter for those that aren't walking in relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. And time is really short where you can, you know, escape and be a part of the bride and the church and be saved right here, right now. Reading out some scriptures of the gospel. 1 Corinthians 15:1. Now I remind you, brothers, of the gospel I preached to you, which you have received, in which you stand, and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the scriptures, that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the scriptures. Romans 10:9. Because if, are you, will you, please do, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. For the scripture says, everyone who believes in him will not be put to shame. For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek, for the same Lord is Lord of all, bestowing his riches on all who would call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. We also read in John 14:6, Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Look at what's being read, you know, written to us here. Jesus saying he is the way, the truth, and the life. And look what the enemy wants to offer: lies, deception, and death. And we all know the fate of Satan. We also know the fate of, the Antichrist and the false prophet. God has already judged them, and their sentences will be soon carried out. Thank you guys for the pleasure of your company. I will put into the description box the first article that we covered, which was Starmer considers digital IDs for everyone to tackle illegal immigration. We also tackled Greece closes 766 schools as collapsing fertility and birth rates trigger demographic death spiral. And we also looked at RFK exposing the CDC's plan to kill 200 million white Americans. Okay, I will be putting in some supporting videos into our community posts directly after this live. But thank you guys. God bless you again. We will be taking today off. Thank you to our Cher and our Sherry and the rest of the team for their continued support to us as a ministry. Okay, we'll be taking tomorrow off, and then on Sunday, should we still be here, we'll be having our live a little bit later, so that during our live on Sunday, there will be on the 7th at 3 p.m. a UK alert relating to an emergency broadcast message, a test. I'm encouraging you to not open that up. When it is there, clear it. And if you go into your message, do not open it. Clear it and delete it straight away. Because I suspect and I've evidence in my experience that is nothing more than a Trojan horse. All right, guys, God bless you. And thank you for the pleasure of your company. All right, bye-bye.